President Biden catching the blame for high inflation that's wrecking family budgets. But the question remains, could the president have done something differently? Yahoo Finance's senior columnist Rick Newman here to tell us. Rick, what could he have done?
So I think 2 weeks from now, when the midterm elections are over, I think we're going to have a lot of recriminations among Democrats about what they could have done better or differently leading up to the midterms, because they're probably going to get shellacked. And the Harvard economist Ken Rogoff wrote something in Foreign Affairs that caught my eye. He goes back to the decision to reappoint Jerome Powell as chair of the Fed. This decision was underway at the White House in the summer of 2021. And Biden did not choose Powell. And if you go back to then, there was a chance that Lael Brainerd, who's now the Fed vice chair, she could have gotten the job. Biden could have recast the central bank. So he didn't make that decision to reappoint Powell until November of last year. He could have done that sooner. And this gets to the question of why the Fed seems to have waited so long to raise interest rates. They did not start raising rates until March of this year, when inflation was already at 8%. And if you go back to the summer of 21, when Biden was trying to decide who should run the Fed, inflation was already hitting 5 and 6%, so well above the Fed's target at that point. And Rogoff in Foreign Affairs basically speculates that the Fed under Jay Powell did not start raising rates at that point last year, mainly because Jay Powell was campaigning to keep his job. And, presidents don't usually like higher interest rates. Biden's not the only one. So the theory here is that the Fed under Powell actually delayed raising rates because Powell was waiting to see if he would get reappointed. Now, Powell is never going to tell us if that's actually true, and I don't think reporters will even ask him about it. But let's say that had happened. Maybe the Fed had started raising rates sooner and inflation would be lower than 8.2% at this point. It's a counterfactual. We're not going to know, but it's an interesting theory.
Yeah, they were certainly behind the curve. I thought you were going to say the Biden administration could have spent less money. That is certainly the other criticism out there. How might that have helped?
That is the Republicans' main criticism, and we're talking about not the Inflation Reduction Act so much, which has passed but hasn't really gone into effect yet, but the huge stimulus bill from early 2021, which Biden championed and then signed. And we now know that was probably way more fiscal stimulus than necessary. So we got more fiscal stimulus than we needed. We got more monetary stimulus than we needed. And that is why we have inflation now. Now, a year ago, we were still in this debate of is inflation transitory or is it going to be lasting? And we know now it wasn't transitory. It was fairly lasting. And this is probably the biggest factor that's dogging Democrats in the last few days before the midterm election. So they're going to have to live with their decisions from 2021.
Indeed they are. Check out Rick Newman's piece on Yahoo Finance today. Good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Bye, Dave.